Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 77 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you like the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a nice review on iTunes. That would really help us out and we'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Welcome to all of you that are joining us live. Hello. And it's time for me now to introduce you to the team. This is where I do my best David Attenborough impression. So you ready for this?
Go on.
Back in his natural habitat, the wild Zimtok, ready to hunt for the tastiest of virtual reality titles. Upon finding one of these delicious morsels, he performs to his audience, sharing his love for VR.
That's fucking brilliant, Mike. Jesus, yeah, let's get an applause in here.
He can die already now. Like, we got a replacement.
Oh, well, that's
Rowdy Savage. Yeah.
Oh, my days.
Oh, man.
So how are you doing, Zim? Is it nice to be back home?
Yeah. I think being back, I mean, like, I got back around about a week ago, and then, like, did a couple days of work. And then, to quote one of my friends, what happened next, he said, "You have the immune system of a wet paper bag." And I literally was thinking that at the beginning, because myself and first I got sick, my kids got sick, and my wife's got it now, and she's laying on the downstairs like moaning or something, because we all got ill for like 4 days, like fever and stuff, and it was some viral thing. It was just like I couldn't believe it, because we'd had like 2.5 weeks in Canada just fine at like minus 16 degrees and all that. Maybe it just that kills bugs or something. That's what somebody told me. They take mattresses there that are like infested with bed mites or something, and they'll just chuck it outside. You can't do that here in the UK. Well, I mean, some people
have the
do.
Opposite problem.
We have the opposite problem for sure. Absolutely. And I'm glad to be back in my roost and finally now able to put a headset on, because I might have mentioned this before, but I have an issue where I actually have really strong VR legs, but it's all gone the second I get ill. The second I'm a little bit sick, I get nauseous in VR like instantly, and it's funny. It's like some kind of magnifying glass for illness.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back, although it was great to have, obviously, Epic's 911 on the show last week, so if you missed that, go and check that one out. Thanks again to him for hosting you whilst you was in Canada. It was good to have him on. But yeah, glad to hear you're on the mend and now running this fine podcast, sailing it on the murky waters of the internet, doing a fine job at that as well. But next up, let me introduce you to this guy. He's living his best life in VR, getting tours around the White House and going on virtual Tinder dates. Will you swipe right for Rowdy? Let us know in the chat. It's Rowdy guy, of course.
Well, I mean, I'm wearing almost a suit and tie, so, I'm putting in some effort, right?
You look like you're on a dating program, Rowdy. Like, and contestant number 2.
Exactly. No, the reason why I'm wearing a suit and tie today is because I'm heading to a wedding in roughly 40 minutes from now. So I still wanted to make it to the podcast, and I had to dress up before I left. So this is how you're gonna have to look at me right now. I'm not very comfortable in this.
So if you enjoy Rowdy, then make the most of it while he's here, because he's not going to be around for the whole show.
I don't want to see any screenshots on Twitter. Nobody dares take a screenshot of me right now.
And then what you need to do is take his green screen background and make the best possible background you can.
Oh.
That's the challenge.
Yeah,
and then
not gonna go great.
And then tweet it to @FRealityCrew on Twitter. We want to see the best ones. So yeah, next up this week, this guy's been going deep underground, scavenging for supplies and exploring the metro of Russia. It's, of course, Nathie. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And you know how I roll, right? I do everything for science. So if I have to go
you kind of sound like you just came out of the metro. Yes, I'm doing great.
It's heavily radiated.
Yes, I am still radiated. They have to treat me later. So Yeah, but I had a fun time playing Metro Exodus in VR. Also, don't get too excited. It's not official support. I've been messing around with far packs again.
Uh,
You know, you sometimes have to transform another pancake title into some VR, well, goodness for some people. So yeah,
Nice,
fun.
nice.
I actually
Good.
thought you
Well,
went to Russia.
No, I have never been to Russia, but hey, I'm always in for a new adventure.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
have been to Russia in VR now, so
There you go.
yeah. That's all that
Did you
matters.
like it?
yeah, it's quite cool, but yeah, overall.
Yeah.
Well, not when it's the apocalypse. I mean, I would go to Russia when it's still, up
When
and
it's not the apocalypse. It sounds
No.
like a good idea.
yeah, makes sense.
So that is Motley. My name is Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's show, we're going to be talking about the announcement from HTC about their new standalone VR headset, the Vive Focus Plus. I'll be giving you the specs on a new entry-level VR-ready graphics card from NVIDIA. Zim's going to give you all the details on some game releases for next week. And then finally, we'll be talking about the possibility of a new HoloLens coming from Microsoft. So we've got lots of exciting stuff to talk about indeed, and much, much more. But before we dive into those topics, let's find out what everyone's been playing in VR this week. And of course, join us in the chat and let us know what you've been playing as well. And let's kick it over to Zim first to find out what he's been up to and his highlight of the week.
I'd love to say that I had played loads of things. I only played one thing before getting ill, and sadly that was Angry Birds VR. So I've got Angry Birds VR to talk about, which is like a terrible... Usually I like pride myself in having something nice to talk about. It's Angry Birds in VR. You know, the game kind of is exactly the opposite of what Tetris, you know, in VR is with Tetris Effect, I would say. Because like Tetris Effect is like they made a different game out of this origin concept of what is Tetris, and managed to kind of double down on that in such a way that it's like, that's such a gorgeous piece of artwork. Angry Birds in VR is, you know, it's a 3D rotate, not even rotatable. That's the thing. I wish you were able to like smoothly rotate around the constructs of these blocks. It feels like kind of playing with child's toys, and except you've got these squishy little birds that you're chucking at the thing. And I did find it to be a little bit of a cerebral activity. You know, I did like the challenge of like, where's the explosive barrel that's gonna do? But I like the complex physics to be able to get these things to crash down is a little bit more challenging, I'd say, than like on mobile, right? Because on mobile, you're not looking at a 3D image, you're looking at you know, a scene that's pretty easy to work out what blocks are going to take down what. But in VR, some of those levels are kind of challenging, or at least might get you specifically stuck, whereas then someone else sits down and gives it a go and they get it in one shot, and you're like, hey. So yeah, I mean, it's actually better than I thought it was going to be, but just wanted to kind of tick that one off and just say I'd done it. So that was
Yeah.
what I played this week. But yeah, not very exciting. I am super excited to be back with my bloody wheel, with my sub pack, all that stuff, because like I haven't been stuck with a Go for the best part of a month now. Is like, I know what I'm gonna put it all on. I'm putting my sub pack on, butt kicker, wheel, hot ass all together, and I'm gonna launch into Elite Dangerous for a week. That's my plan now. That's what I'm doing next.
Your hot ass?
My hot ass, yes, Rowdy.
Yeah, but I totally agree about what you're saying with Angry Birds. It feels like it would be a better fit on the go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would have to agree, because it's a little bit, especially when you're flashing to a camera position, and you're kind of stuck, and they sometimes only give you 2 positions. Sometimes it's like 6. And I don't really understand why it changes so much. The levels aren't that exciting. But then there's other games like that Smash VR, I think is what it's called, the one with the glass balls.
Yes.
That is a great VR title on Go. If you haven't tried it.
Also in Gear VR.
Yeah, so on
Every
mobile
headset
VR,
can run it. Yeah.
exactly, it's a really strong performer. And actually, there's a bit of intensity there that you might think, mobile game's not going to be this intense. That gets bloody intense pretty fast, like the later you go in the levels. So all in all, it's funny when you kind of compare those flavors between what you like on desktop VR and what you like on mobile, because they're very different for me. Very, very different. I'm mostly a media consumer on the go, but
It'll be interesting to hear about your adventures in Elite Dangerous some more next week. If you
it's
do
been
end
almost-
up jumping into it.
it's been almost, I was just thinking about it. It's been almost, this July, it'll be 5 years since I first jumped in and, had this one video where I literally I was crying and I kind of kicked off, and it was just so beautiful the first time I got into it. I was just so overwhelmed. I couldn't believe it. And that was in the DK2. But like, how far have they gotten? How deeper and richer are the campaigns and the weapon systems? And I mean, I spent a good solid year and a half playing Elite, but I basically backed off of it for about 3+ years now. So be very interested to report back once I've gone in.
Looking forward to that for sure. So what about you then, Rowdy? Tell us about your adventures in the metaverse.
Yeah, like you said, I've been to the White House. I've also been to Texas with the good old Dick Wilde. I jumped into that game for a while with a buddy of mine, and it's actually surprisingly fun. Although it is a lot like the original Dick Wilde still, I think. You know, it's just like a shoot 'em up and shoot everything that moves kind of title. But the humor in it is pretty well done. Like, I really enjoyed like the voiceovers. He does like this, like, it's really weird the first time I heard it, but he does like a kind of like a Mario kind of thing, like once in a while, like, it's me, Dick Wilde.
What? He's stealing my voice lines? What?
Yeah, it just cracked me up the first time he did that. So that was it was pretty fun. It's fun since it has co-op. I think that's a nice addition to. I actually don't know if the original one had co-op. I don't think so. I never played it with someone. The characters are very well done. It's hilarious to be playing it. It's a funny title. I wouldn't say it's a fun title since it's a lot of the same, I think. But it is a very funny title. I had a good time just messing around with it, and they have a whole lot of levels. Like, I was surprised how many levels they have. They have different worlds where you can go to, so there's a lot of content that is there. I'm just worried if it's like, you know, enough variation in between kind of things. I did encounter already a lot of different kind of creatures, but I just need to shoot all of them. So
how are the weapons? Because like in the first one, I found myself using just one weapon. Like, I didn't prefer, like, I tried them all and I was like, I only preferred one. I'm usually a person who uses all, but how are the weapons?
It's like an unlock system that they use. Like, the more you need to unlock keys, and with keys you can unlock different worlds and different levels, but you can also do like a shotgun run, which you get like a special weapon, and you can unlock that weapon. Weapons have like special abilities, so there is a lot of variation in the weapons. They have laser weapons, they have shotguns, assault rifles, Uzis, pistols, so there's a lot of different kind of styles, but there's no reloading. It's just like you keep on shooting. At least the weapons that I had so far didn't have to reload, so maybe I didn't get that far ahead.
Any cooldown? Like, do you like fire 3 shots and then it has to auto reload, or do you just mean no, it's just continuous shooting?
Just continuous shooting, except for like the rate of fire can like depend on the weapon. Like, for example, an Uzi, you can just go like, and it will keep on going. While a shotgun, it's a little bit harder, but you have a wider range of. I didn't find the shotguns that useful, but maybe in later levels when you get like bigger bosses or something, then you can put them to some good use. But yeah, fun title.
I think this is one of those games where it's not necessarily the best title out there, but it's just fun to play it with someone else and just have a talk while you're playing it. It's like Mike and I played Anthem. I wasn't a big fan of the game, but I did enjoy playing it together with Mike, even that I wasn't a big fan of the. So that sometimes can work too, you know.
Yeah. For me as well. Like, I think it was a fun experience, but it's not the kind of game that I want to see like from the beginning to the end. What is going to happen? You know, like, I know what's going to happen. There's going to be more and more of these kind of fish that come at me and need to shoot them all. That's what the game is, and that's perfectly fine as well, because that's what Dick Wilde is all about. That was how the original game was, and that's how this game is as well. It makes perfect sense.
It's interesting because I watched a little clip of your video, and obviously with playing on PCVR, you have 2 guns, so 1 in each hand. And I quickly played a little bit of the PSVR version with the aim controller because I'm really interested in playing that game using that setup. And obviously you're limited just to a single gun then. The way they've modeled it is really well. It feels very one-to-one with the aim controllers, like ergonomics. But I wonder if they scale the difficulty back because you're limited to one gun.
They're going to have to, because sometimes there's like 2 creatures that come at you at the same time. in the PC version. So I don't think that you'll be able to shoot, especially now if you're holding a shotgun or something, because you just won't be able to pull the trigger, or you can pull the trigger but it won't fire.
That's really
Right.
interesting, though. Like, if you think about that, because then you go on between two guns to one gun and back and forth. And if you think about, if you were to map out like the difficulty of a particular level, there's going to be inconsistencies between, one weapon or two. It's kind of like if you threw someone down two different Beat Saber tracks and said, all right, you're going to one-hand, this song, that guy's going to, two-hand that one, and then you're trying to compare them almost. So, like, one's going to be easier than the other, inherently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the way you described it was spot on, though, Rowdy. It feels very arcadey. But I kind of got when I played the little short segment that I did using the PSVR and the aim controller, it felt like I was in like an arcade at a bowling alley, playing those really fun arcade games. That's exactly what it felt like. And I'm looking forward to playing it. And like Nathie said, just chilling out and just having a conversation while we kind of just blast some fish out the water,
They are saying in the chat as well that it is significantly harder on PC. This I Am Roots played it both from back to back, and he said that it did scale it back on PlayStation VR.
Interesting. Thank you for letting us know, by the way. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So cool. What about you there, Nathie? What did you play this week?
Yeah, so first of all, in the chat they have been playing a lot of games too. We have GamerTag VR, who played Robo Recall for the first time. He just bought a Oculus Rift, so he's exploring the mysteries of PCVR. Then we have Laz Marwick. He played Doyagi. Do you guys know what that is? Have you ever heard of Doyagi? What do you think? What kind of game that is, Mike?
That is a great question.
Just one guess. What could it possibly be? It is a simulator.
Is it a bread making simulator?
Well, close. It's a Korean pottery simulator.
Nice.
And it's quite relaxing to play, I guess, in the weekend.
Do you get like
Is
a
it the
ghost that hugs
central
you?
one? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
What
No.
was that movie called with like the woman and the man that are making the
Ghost.
pot together?
Ghost.
That's what Mike's joke was about, Ghost. Like,
I was
Well,
only
he made
thinking, like,
your joke even worse, but yeah. Great.
Patrick Swayze is the gentleman who features, and Whoopi Goldberg, isn't it? I think.
I don't
No.
know. We're
Isn't
not
that
a
Whoopi
movie.
Goldberg, no?
We're not a movie
She's in
podcast,
that.
so
She is.
Let us know in the chat.
She is in that.
Oh, she is.
Yeah, she is.
okay.
She's not the
I thought
woman.
we were a VR podcast or something, but never mind. We have a few more. We have Watauku played Metro Exodus with Farpax, Anthem, more Garn, and Ace Combat 7. And someone says VR Furballs is much better than, well, Angry Birds VR. So Zim,
I'm
might wanna-
I'm waiting. It's on my list to play.
Okay.
It's gonna have to wait for Elite, but VR Furballs is something that I've been planning to play before I went away, actually.
okay. And then we have two more. Jonathan says, I haven't played any games. I'm still waiting for the quest. Whoa.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
that long now. Couple more months.
And then, last but not least, we have Eric saying that he played a good bit of Swords of Gargantuas
Yeah.
and a bunch of location-based stuff. So yeah, that's what people have been playing. Well, what I played is quite interesting too. I jumped into a dementia simulator that I saw on Oculus Home a while back. I wanted to play it on the channel and show it off because I thought it was something different that you don't see a lot. Honestly, healthcare projects on Oculus Home are rare. You don't see them a lot. It's maybe also not the platform to release it on, but in this case, the developers decided to drop it there, and it's free. Everyone can check it out, and it might be a bit arcadey the way it plays, but it's more about the message it's trying to tell you. It's trying to let you feel and let you experience what it's like to have dementia and how to how people see that from their eyes. So it's a powerful title that you could check out if you want. It's like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't take that long, and then you're like, oh yeah, now I feel like I understand these people a bit better than before.
I think this would be really useful for families that have like a family member that is suffering with dementia, so they can really understand firsthand what it's like to live a day in
Exactly.
their shoes.
Yeah, that's what it's
really-
made for. It's made
It
for
actually happened a lot with well, not maybe specifically with dementia, but with like I know, for example, my grandfather had like a brain infarct. So what happened was that he lost a large part of his vision, so he only had tunnel vision. So what they would use these kind of glasses to make you see what he would see, and how difficult it is to function like that. So they use these kind of like technologies in healthcare quite regularly to try and make people understand. They have that as well with autism, that they put like a voice in your head, so to speak, to give you one of those like positive symptoms, since that can be something that you can have. They have like a wide range of these kinds of things that they actually use to make people better understand what it is to live with an illness like this. So,
yeah, I think it's a fascinating use of VR, and definitely I think we're going to see more of this in the future, without doubt.
Yeah, and it's, I always feel like these kind of projects, they don't seem to pop up that well on Oculus Home or Steam, because it's maybe not the place to publish it. And that's why this one just had such a silent launch. No one was talking about it, barely any reviews, barely any downloads. And then again, I'm like, Oculus, you have a Twitter, you have a Facebook, use it for this stuff, because then you can show people like, listen, we're not only about games. They want to move away from games. I'm sure they also want people to experience other stuff. So use this one, give these developers a spotlight. People can try it. It's even free, so why not? So I do feel like this could have gotten more attention, and that's why I played it on my channel in the first place.
Yeah, and especially when you see, like, I know the Beat Saber team really went out of their way this week and did some project work with Subpack and Oculus as well, and they brought Beat Saber to a group of deaf people in the UK, so they could feel the vibrations of the game whilst they were playing.
Yes.
And it's these kind of projects that are very fascinating and really have a huge impact on these users' lives, and empowers them to really get into this new sort of gaming medium that they've maybe never experienced before.
Yeah,
and I
true.
think, like you say, it's an underrated sort of way to really promote the amazing uses for VR and how it can really impact people's lives.
I mean, the moment a developer is brave enough to publish it on a platform they know it's not really their audience, you should welcome that with open arms, because then the next developer is like, hey, maybe we should also let people try our project, because it does give us some exposure. Because a dementia simulator like that, it's very hard to get funding for something like that. And I'm not sure if you know, but developing a little serious game is expensive. It's not cheap at all. So being able to pull this off with a couple of sponsors and then also release it on Oculus Home, that's impressive. So hopefully I will see this pop up on my timeline when I see an Oculus post.
The experimentation that you're talking about there, Mike, as well, is kind of surprising. I mean, I graduated as electronic engineer, and one of the things I learned in that degree right toward the very end, which was super interesting, did a course on medical electronics, and the actual use of technology. And Rowdy might know more recently now, some years on since I got out of university. It's been a while now. If this is still the case, but the use of new nascent technology in medical is actually one of the slowest adoptions areas for that. And that shocked me. I was like, surely that's one of the first places you go when you have a new technology. You're going to go say, oh, I can give you a new leg, or, I can help augment your vision. Because surely there's somebody there every single day dealing with some trauma that is clawing for a solution. And I think that when you talk about people just kind of throwing various elements into the pot and seeing, is this going to work? As you mentioned, the Subpack piece, I thought it was really cool to see that. But we've seen that along the way, all these little drips and drabs of people throwing technology together to try to help. But I do think that it's still a truth out there that, unfortunately, these technologies, it's almost sluggish. And they were literally begging us at the time to
there's a good reason for that as
glue
well.
the two together.
Because we have things like FDA approval and
Yeah, of
all
course.
these kind of things that are very important as well, and that is something that will slow down a process like that. Because I'm a lot with like drug approvals. So with drug approvals, you have so many trials, so many years that go over that before you even start with a clinical trial.
Yeah.
And they have like the development of a drug is it's I don't know how many million that will cost to get the drug eventually on the market, to even get to that phase of that you might potentially bring it to the market. That's an insanely high price, and there's no different for that for like technology. I know that I work with deep brain stimulation, transcranial magnetic stimulation. They've received FDA approval a long time ago, but even after that FDA approval, it's still not common use usage, just because we don't really know what we're doing, and there needs to be so much investigation still that needs to be done. There's so much research that needs to be done before it can actually be implemented in certain specific scenarios, very specific individuals. It's a slow process for a very good reason, for us to be safe and for the technology to be safe, because there have been things that have happened in the past that were really, really, really bad because they didn't go through such a series of processes. So
Well put.
there's a good
Yeah, a very interesting topic of discussion. Yeah, let us know in the chat if you're going to go and check this one out. But yeah, we'd urge you to, especially if you've got a family member or someone you know that suffers with dementia. I think it would be a big eye opener for you. But to talk about what I played this week, I played a lot of stuff, but mainly I was testing out the Pimax. You can probably see it in the background here. The Pimax 5K Plus finally arrived. I was a Kickstarter backer of this headset, as I've mentioned on the show many times before. I tested it out a fair bit, and if you want a very brief sort of conclusion of my thoughts on this headset, I thought the resolution, clarity, and wide field of view were really nice and a sort of big step in the right direction. However, these come with a trade-off of distortion on the edges of your vision when you're playing games, kind of akin it to like a fishbowl effect on the very edges of your vision. And when you're moving your headset in a virtual world, it can be quite off-putting and distracting, and also a bit like nauseating as well if you're not used to it. So that was kind of one thing that I didn't like about this headset so far. And the second thing was because my IPD is really low, the big lenses of the Pimax actually sit on the bridge of my nose. So it made it kind of uncomfortable to play for long periods of time. But I'm working, to see if there's any ways, tweaks, mods that I can do to make the overall experience with this headset better over time. So, if you've got any suggestions as well, let us know in the comments. I'd love to know.
What's the material, Mike, that actually sits on the bridge of your nose? Is it like hard plastic, or is it a foam?
It's the hard plastic of the lenses themselves.
God.
Yeah. So it's a bit unfortunate. But other than that, I've been spending a lot of the week actually reading the book from Blake J. Harris, The History of the Future. We mentioned it on a previous show. Probably almost halfway through now. They've got to the point where they've kickstarted, the Rift, the DK1. They're obviously going to sell it to developers, and now the sort of the ZeniMax issue is starting to sort of boil over with this kind of scrappy startup that is Oculus, and they're starting to realize that they might be in a bit of trouble here with this huge company, with John Carmack right in the center of it all. So it's getting really, really fascinating. It's been a great book to read, so I'd highly recommend it. And out of the book, actually, to sort of go on another quick tangent, was that I found that Palmer, Luckey, obviously the founder of Oculus, was a huge fan of Sword Art Online, and I'd never really heard of it before, so I looked it up, and it's an anime series. I don't know how. This is the bizarre thing. I have no idea how I missed out on this one. So I looked it up, and obviously it was on Netflix. Started watching it, and for those that don't know about Sword Art Online, it's an anime that basically is revolving around VR. That 10,000 users play this brand new game called Sword Art Online. They all log in to play it on the first day and then find themselves trapped in the game. They can't log out of it. And then they have to battle their way through these 100 levels, because it's like an MMO, to maybe try and escape. But that's all I know so far. So maybe go and check that out if you're interested. So that's what I've been up to this week, pretty much.
Well, packed week for you, Mike.
Yeah, busy. So let's get into some quick news then. And first up, let's start with this Rift repair kit, because I think if you're a user out there, you're going to find this really useful if you're having problems with your Rift audio in particular. I had this happen to my Rift, where basically the audio on the left or right earphone just stops working, and it's a common fault, well known amongst the Rift community. And basically what happens is that the ribbon cables, the very delicate ribbon cables in the rigid strap of the Rift, sort of break down over time due to the sort of stretching of the headband, and that causes this loose connection with the audio. And it generally happens when a headset's really old, so over a year, or really well used headset. You won't have this as a new headset owner. But Oculus founder, obviously Palmer Luckey, he's come to the rescue for all those people that are having this issue. And basically, he's made a repair kit for it. So even though he's completely left Oculus now, he still obviously supports the baby that he brought to market, which is really admirable. And all you need to do to qualify for this kit is to show that you've contacted Oculus support and that they won't help you because your headset's out of warranty. Provide that to Palmer. He's got an email address, and I've put a link to his website blog in the description below if you want to go to that. Send those details to the email address with your shipping detail, and he will ship you a free kit to repair it, which is amazing.
And it has some benefits, I think, associated with that as well. So once you've done the repair, I can't remember reading that, but my favorite piece about his post was when he said, "Dear Oculus support, feel free to point people in my direction." That's lovely.
Exactly. And this is what he said about it. He said, the people who have been using their headsets for years on end tend to be the most engaged, the most valuable users who dump tons of money into the content ecosystem. And I feel bad for those people who bought a Rift from me and can't use it properly anymore. So that's why he decided to do this. He's a moderate heart, which I obviously learned from the book. Yeah. And now he's giving these kits out for free.
Wow. Nice. Again, he's the man of the people.
He is.
And he was the frontman we always wanted for the Oculus brand.
He was our Reggie,
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
He was. But like you said, there's a consequence of using this kit, actually, if you get hold of one. And that is that you can use third-party headphones with the Rift then. It had a headphone jack added, so you can use, which is useful, but he's not going to sell these kits just for that purpose. It's just for people that want to repair their headsets.
Okay.
So that is Palmer saving the day for people having issues with their Rift.
You made me nervous now, Mike, because since day one, I took the headphones off of my headset, and because the band has been stretching and all that, and I'm primarily a Rift user. I mean, I've got hundreds of titles I've covered in it. I just wonder now. It's like if I put those headphones back on, is my audio dead?
I have that problem. Because I took them off,
that.
but I already noticed there was an issue with them. Like, because I forgot which side it was though. I don't remember that, but I did have a problem with my headphones, and I had to keep on tightening that screw to make sure that they had enough contact. But I don't know if they'll still work now.
Yeah. Maybe you should contact Palmer. He'll hook you up.
I'll send him a DM.
So in other news this week, we had some really sort of interesting news, and that is that a guy named Jak Wilmot is attempting to spend a whole week in virtual reality. This is mental. And I think this is going to be a new world record. If he pulls it off, I think this is going to set a new world record. And at the time of airing this show, he's already 3 days into this experiment, like 3 full days in VR.
He's still hanging in there.
To me, it's only valid if he spends that entire week in Gorn or something like that. Anything else doesn't work for me.
Yeah. So to pull this off, he's been using a variety of different headsets. He's been using the HTC Vive, the Oculus Go, and the HTC Vive Focus. The Vive Focus is a particularly useful headset in this scenario because it's got pass-through cameras at the front, and it's a 6 degrees of freedom headset that's fully inside-out tracked, so he can move freely around his home and cook and even shower in VR, which is what he's been doing. And I don't know if we're showing you some stuff live, but basically he's constructed this rig in his shower so you can shower wearing a VR headset without it getting wet, which is
Before we missell this, I am not showing a dude showering or any special bits. I am showing a dude sitting at a PC. But earlier, just before starting the show, he was washing dishes with a mixed reality headset on, doing kind of pass through there. So he's obviously, as Mike is describing,
so what is he looking at then? What is the thing that he's looking at?
He's currently browsing Twitter.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, with the focus, he can pass through. Obviously, with the other headsets, he uses them for other uses.
So wait, he's just passing through what the camera sees of his virtual reality headset.
So it's like an augmented view of his real world. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that counts in the Guinness books. It's a smart way to do it. I would be able to maybe also hang in there for a few days with that. But I heard that, because the view is of course a lot smaller, it's still quite
Yeah.
intense.
It's going to be very
How does
intense.
he? Yeah, of course. How does he switch headsets?
So this is a good
closed eyes, right?
Well, he's allowed himself 30 seconds to swap a headset. So that's his caveat. But he must eat, sleep, and shower wearing a headset at all times.
And he's 3 days in.
3 days in, he'll end around sort of Wednesday next week. But I remember, I don't know if any of you, if you've been a long time watcher or listener, Prometheus used to be a fellow that joined us on this fine podcast, and he actually once did 24 hours in VR, and he had some serious side effects as a result of that. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yeah,
but he
his
had
entire face was like ripped
swollen.
open.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the black eye. I actually, since you mentioned it, I actually tweeted him a couple of days ago to ask if he still had that picture, because I thought it'd be funny to show that picture off. But he said he put it somewhere in the group chat. But yeah, I can't find that anymore.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how Jak gets on, and if he achieves a world record, then hats off to the dude. Nice work. So yeah, keep an eye on him. The whole thing is broadcast live, so if you want to check in and out on how Jak's doing, check out his YouTube and his Twitter page, and see what he's up to.
Especially in the lonely hours where there's almost no one watching, it's kind of sad. Where you're like, maybe I should just this dude right now because there's no one around. So yeah.
Also, his eyes must dry out. No, like
It's rough. It's rough.
Maybe
Like,
when he takes off, he doesn't have eyeballs anymore because they melted.
How long do you guys reckon you could last doing something like this?
Yeah.
I could do
No
the
way.
week. I could definitely do the week.
I don't think I could last 24 hours. I
I think honestly something that would kill me is like a headache that continues getting worse, and then my eyes being very, very tired. But
Yeah.
maybe
The
maybe
major problem-
3 days, I don't know.
the major problem for me would be my brain telling me the entire time, "Why are you doing this?"
I would need a compelling reason. Like I was surprised it wasn't, that his driver wasn't really charity, or something like that. Because to do it for like a charity event, I can understand. To do it as a kind of like a self promo, I think it's just not really that smart. I mean, there's loads of people who have been harping on my case for ages and ages and ages. They're like, do 24 hours, do the 24-hour stream, because that's a big thing on Twitch, right? Which is easy if you're going to sit back in your chair and drink, Mountain Dews and play WoW, right? Like that, fine. But, doing VR is a totally different thing. I mean, Beat Saber for 24 hours, or even just standing on your feet for that long is not easy on your body. And so, and even if you're alternating, you get so tired of monitoring two realities at once. Like it really wears on you, That's why I'm
Completely
great.
agree. But he says the reason why he is doing this, if you're interested, is that he thinks that AR and VR will replace smartphones by 2038, and he wanted to analyze the effects of long-term simulator usage.
Wow. Hey, Rowdy, you know what you should try? You should buy like a Gear VR and then open up the front, right? And then just look through it. You're like, hey guys, I'm gonna spend a week with my Gear VR without a phone in there. It's pass-through, right? I mean,
That'll give you a headache as well, because those lenses will just.
yeah, I know they're always so to start, but technically it's also see-through.
So, like, do you guys generally, because when we were talking about how long, like, what are the first symptoms that you notice after, let's say, 2 hours straight in VR, right? Like, what are the first things you notice?
I think that the most common thing would be headaches, just because we don't have very focal display, so the light that is hitting our eyeballs is constantly coming from the same kind of source, which means that your pupils are not. Yeah, but I'm saying like just in general with the common symptoms.
Sure.
So your the way that your how do I explain this? The way that your divergence of your eyes will happen will always be the same, because you will always have light coming from the same distance. So I think that will be the major issue just in the most amount of people. I think that I also would eventually get headaches if you just do it long enough. You stare constantly at the same kind of distance.
The same, focus. I actually don't. I don't think I've
Not the
ever
same
had
focus,
a
the
VR
same-
related headache ever.
I think the other thing I always suffer from is that because it's like on your face, you start to feel it like
That's
here,
what I
and you're
get.
like, "Oh, can I move it a little bit?" And you start making it even tighter or looser, but it's just you just got to take it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
that
weight
is Jack,
symptoms. But no,
if you're
Mike, what
interested-
do you find after like extended periods in VR? What gets you?
Just generally being tired, like you say, I could sit down and play games for hours and hours at my desk, but if I tried to do the same thing in VR, it would have a big toll on me. Like you say, standing up generally, is contributing to that, and moving around physically as well is contributing to that. Just
Cool.
being tired. Yeah,
I
let's
need
move
to,
on.
I need to head off.
Okay,
I
good
need-
luck
I need
with
to do
the wedding. Have
Wow.
fun, dance the night away.
I will.
Celebrate
You know
for
me.
us.
Show us those
Dirty
sunglasses,
dancing.
Rowdy.
Tell them we send our love. I don't even know who they are.
I
But
will. I will. See you. Bye-bye.
yeah, bye. So last week we talked about the Samsung Odyssey deal, and I talked about they had a really great deal on the Samsung Odyssey, which is a great Windows mixed reality headset. It was 50% off, so you could get it for $249 US. But unfortunately, by the time we broadcasted the episode of the show, the deal had expired, and also due to a bad experience with Big Apple Buddy, I missed out on the deal myself. However, that might have been a sign from the VR gods, and you may have been saved, because this week, the Samsung Odyssey Plus, which is the latest version of the headset, is now on sale as well. And now you can get it for $299 US from the Samsung website in the US. And now this headset features like anti-screen door effect technology. So some people say it's like a step up. Some people say it's a step down because they prefer the crisper view of the original. But still, regardless, it's still a great headset at a great price. So this time, I put my order in again through Big Apple Buddy to ship me a headset to the UK. So I was very clear with my instructions this time. I said, I don't want the one on your website. I want this one in particular, the one that's got the deal on. So now is your moment to shine, Big Apple Buddy. Don't let yourself down. Let's make this happen.
I love what you're talking about, Big Apple Buddy, as if he's like, your mate. You're like, you fucked me over last time. This time you're not going to do that, are you?
Yeah.
It looks like Samsung knows it's selling like hotcakes because they are constantly putting a discount on it, and hopefully this will also motivate them to imagine they starting their own platform, for example, like Steam or Oculus Home maybe, and even develop some stuff in studio, right? I think there's more coming from Samsung. I do feel like, I'm not sure about you guys, but after all this all these headsets coming out, I feel like we're gonna have some new platforms soon, next to Oculus Home, next to Steam, next to Vive part, and one of the most obvious choices would of course be Epic Games. At the moment, they have no plans for it, but that would be smart. It would be smart, I think, from anyone who makes a headset now, a good one like the Samsung Odyssey, to hook people to a platform too while they are buying it.
Yeah, I totally agree about Epic, by the way. I think they're a great platform because they not only give developers a bigger revenue share, they also really support content creators as well, which is really nice for us.
Yes.
And we've seen that already being part of their sort of creator program with Epic Games.
Great.
It is great. So, if they started moving more into VR, and I know that you reached out to Tim Sweeney, of the CEO of Epic, and sort of said, look, is this going to be possible? And he said they haven't got any immediate plans to do it, but of course it's on their potential roadmap for the future, then I would totally welcome it. Yeah.
I feel like this is gonna... It might be annoying, like you have on with Pancake Games, like you have to use Origin and you have to use Uplay and Steam and all these. But on the other side, you need to know that Steam is an open platform. Oculus is, of course, exclusive to Oculus products. So having more of these platforms doing exclusives, trying to kind of fight a war of like who has the best titles on their platform might work in our favor. And let's say Samsung or Epic or any other company also put some money into development of titles, you will get very, very interesting experiences like Oculus did in the past, where they had a new game every month. So that could be interesting. And Epic was smart enough to buy a license for Metro, even that a lot of people were annoyed by that. It's still a good move from them, because a lot of people had to go to the platform to download it there. And I think with VR, it's still such an open, place to do that. Although, I don't really support exclusives, but I know that right now Oculus is the only one doing it. So I know that they need competition, and there needs to be someone else fighting their exclusivity. Like PlayStation has. PlayStation and Oculus, for example, do it, but they don't compete with each other because they are not both on PC or console.
They're in different oceans. Yeah,
exactly. So we'll see who's going to be the first one. I feel like it's going to be Epic Games. I'm not sure, but Samsung having these Odysseys, getting pushed out so much, it could be that they are also like, maybe we should do that. I mean, mixed reality has their own platform already, but I think it can evolve even more to where you can buy games that are only on their platform, and if they are top notch, why wouldn't you use their platform?
Well, if Microsoft came to the table and said, look, we're really going to support VR now, and we're going to make a VR adaptation of like Gears of War, like some of their most popular franchises, like Forza, for example, then that would be really interesting, and I would totally support it. Halo as well, of course. But we'll have to see.
Microsoft, Nintendo, and Apple, please release your VR headsets for this Christmas this year. Thank you. And Samsung, if you wouldn't mind doing a folding edition of a headset, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Folding edition.
And before you get too far away from, I thought you were about to tell us a little bit about the headset. I'm curious what the bid was, or what their offer was to import to the UK, because I saw the news drop like 10 minutes after, and I was like, it was like I was in Canada, and I was like, oh, I gotta tell Mike. I'm like, shit, it's like 3 a.m. But it was. I'm glad you saw it.
Thing. I haven't received my quote back from Big Apple Buddy yet, so if I miss it again, then they are done. I will never consider them ever again in the future. So this is your moment. But like, I've got a theory about this as well, like why Samsung are setting their headsets cheap at the moment. And that is because, of course, we're going to be touching more on it later on, but Mobile World Congress is starting tomorrow. And Alex Kipman, who is sort of like head of like the VR, AR department of Microsoft, is going to be presenting something there. And maybe he's going to announce some new headsets, or we'll see something new from Samsung. We just don't know. So maybe they could be clearing their old stock before they launch a new product.
True. I think the mixed reality platform has a lot of potential, and they have so many users now. It grew so fast. That they can really do something with that.
And like I said before, it's converted me on the Windows mixed reality platform, and hence why I want to have one to add to my collection now. So if you're considering a Windows MR headset, the Odyssey is the one I would personally go for.
You know what I wish just to put one foot in the door, for the sim racer community, I wish they sold headset sans controllers, because I have no need for those rubbish controllers, and I'd happily pay for a headset, but I'd love it if you could knock 50 quid off the price. So an idea.
Because they're actually quite rare. So if you bought the headset and you sold the controllers, there is a big market for the controllers actually, so you could make some money there.
Good thought there, Mike. I might have to do that.
Also, we have a celebrity in the chat. Papa Voodoo is in the house.
Now I feel nervous. I feel like under pressure.
You should be. He's the all-known, the oracle of virtual reality in Germany.
We're in the company of gods. That's what we're.
True. Yeah.
So we've got a final bit of quick news this week, and that is a game called Until You Fall, and this is actually a new game. Games announced this week. They're the same developers behind the game I Expect You to Die, and they're developing this new game, which is going to be a VR sword fighting experience. Apparently, they're going to be blending various styles of sword fighting to create an intense, real-time combat experience that hasn't been seen before in VR. And they believe that the game will push the boundaries and leave players with an immersive melee fighting experience that they've been craving. So it's going to be kind of interesting, a bit of a depart from their previous game, I Expect You to Die, which was a super polished escape room type game. It's still probably one of the best that you can play, right?
Also, they made what is it, Hololens? It's like where you can do all kinds of experiments. It's really cool too. It's one of their mysterious titles that not a lot of people tried, but that one is also fun.
Another thing I didn't realize was that they also made the AR Jedi training game as well.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The one that no one's ever played.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a Lenovo partnership, I think it was.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
one that is on the shelf in my like media store for almost 2 years now, and it never dropped in price here. It's always like it's laying there and no one buys it, and I'm always like, should I be the one buying this? Is it now? Like I can hear it whispering in my ear, like, Nathie, don't you want to try this? And actually, I still do want to try
Yeah,
it.
Same.
I
I'm
am
same
curious
there.
about it, and
Just
I know
wait.
it's not gonna be the best, but hey, for science, right? You gotta try it.
Exactly. For
But if it's
science.
Shell Games, I mean, just from the screenshots I've seen of the software, now I'm even more intrigued to play it because Shell generally do solid games. So
Yeah, exactly. And the
Everything
thing
I
is,
played
like, when I was looking into this game, there's not much information about it right now, of course, because
No.
they just announced it, and they don't even know what platform it's going to be available for. Although my guess is it's going to be a Quest title. You know, maybe this is going to be one of those games that gets announced by Oculus at this pre-GDC event where they start showing off, you know, the unreleased games they haven't mentioned before.
Yeah.
But it kind of got me thinking about, you know, I Expect You to Die, because I never actually finished that game, and I never played the DLC, which I know Zim was a big
Oh,
fan of.
yeah,
The
you
fir-
gotta.
The first plus one, which is on a train.
Yeah, I mean it's one additional level. I mean there's not that much to the game, but the level of polish is what really brings you back for more. You know, you play all the different levels. I mean, I never went looking for all the collectibles and buff up your starting room or anything, but
Yeah.
I always wanted more from them. I'm just waiting for more.
Also, if you do want more from Shell Games, they also made Water Bears VR.
That was actually really good. It's a really good puzzle game.
Yeah.
It's super cutesy and adorable. And I think if I remember correctly, you can, with all your manly might, take one of those squidgy little cutesy little bears and flog it into the water. And unfortunately, it comes floating back. But, they at least allow you to chuck them.
A classic.
Classic.
There you go. So that's all the quick news this week. Let's kick it over to Zim for the lowdown on this week's latest releases.
Hide, everyone, hide.
It's definitely it's trauma time. I'm going to start off with the best looking. Now look, there's actually quite a bit launching in the next week, so do check your calendars and stuff. I'm not going to mention everything. I generally am going to try to stick to highlights only. So I've picked 3 things, a little bit of something for everyone in the family. First thing off is a game that just launched. February 20th, so released just 3 days ago for £22. And this is a PCVR title called Titan Slayer 2. Now this game, I'm going to run the trailer for this because it looks badass in terms of just the look and feel of it. And I want you to be able to see this one. If you're listening, I will describe it. It's early access. It's a high action, kind of enormous and well animated enemy battler, I would say. The environments look pretty decent, and primarily the thing that stands out to me is really the animations and the in-your-face aspect of the bosses. Reminds me quite a bit of like Serious Sam, maybe even kind of more intimate in certain areas. Looks really well developed in terms of what's there, and from what we've seen so far, I would say that from Steam reviews, people like what's there, but there's only about 30 minutes of content. And for $25 or £22, that's a bit of a high price at the minute for what you're getting. But as I said, I was surprised to see a very high number of Steam reviews. I do have to say I like the style of the enemies. You've got the kind of what I call kind of core cotton candy gameplay style. In other words, feed you something sweet and nice, but maybe not stick around for too long. The things I didn't like from what I've seen from gameplay trailers and the like is I didn't like to see health bars. I generally hate health bars in VR games because it breaks the immersion. You got to figure out a different way to do that. I don't care if it's my health or the enemy's health. I don't want to see that shit. Sorry. And in terms of the GUI again seems relatively basic. Early days yet, but it looks, I do like the kind of general grim appearance to this one. What do you guys think from what you've seen?
I played the first one. I thought it was okay. The Titans are huge, and the sense of scale is cool. So yeah, maybe give this one a go, see what it's like. But 30 minutes content for that much money, it's going to have to really wow me for that, I think.
Yeah.
I do have to say this developer has a background in VR for I think 2-3 years now. This is not their well, as you said, like they made a first part of the game, but they also made other titles like Cyberpunk. I'm not sure if anyone played that, but it's like some kind of like Pong next level VR version they made, and they also made VR Garage on. I think it was an Oculus Home. Never played that one. I didn't think that one was that great, but Cyberpunk was a fun one.
Cyberpunk. Oh, right.
Pong, yeah,
I saw it. I don't think I ended up playing it. Mike, I'm really curious about the first one because I did see pieces about it. I never remember seeing this before. It probably fell by the wayside. What was that like? How long was it and all that? Do you know?
I never finished it. It had some tough difficulty spikes, I recall. But yeah, I just kind of remember it looked really nice, but you know, I don't know. There was just something that I didn't like about it particularly. It was just a bit arcadey, I think.
Maybe this is an interesting refinement. Anyway, it caught my eye. I'm really kind of keen on it. I'm a huge Serious Sam fan as well, so I'm going to probably give that one a go at some stage and see how. Maybe I'll report back here then. So that one, as I said, released and is already available. It's on a 10% sale on Steam, as games normally do. The next game, so second in the list here, is one that I'm actually really excited about, having learned about. I knew nothing of this before now. If you're a World War II fan and you are a PlayStation VR owner, this is one that's coming for approximately $10. There's not a fixed price yet announced, coming out next Tuesday, February 26th, which is called Honor and Duty D-Day. So this one is a World War II simulator, touting up to 32 player support. Still early days, and actually I would say that the look and feel of the game shows that as well. A little bit of cartoony style to it, low poly. But what makes me very interested is that it's a very fast-paced first-person shooter with aim controller support. And with that kind of multiplayer, it really reminds me of something like Battlefield 1943, which launched on like Xbox and PlayStation. It was like, if you want to just jump in for half an hour, blast with some friends and all that. And there was actually a kind of a beta version of this that was run. So there are some of the people in our audience and elsewhere who've already had a kind of a go with the game, and I'm sure they can. So if in the chat, if you've actually managed to play this yet, I've been away, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have. But do let us know your thoughts on it. It looks like quite a bit of fun, to be honest. And I think with the aim controller support and move support, that it's going to be something quite interesting.
Okay. Well, if you do want to play a World War II game on PC, if you don't own a PSVR, you can go for The Last Sniper. I think that one was pretty good. It's quite old now, but that might be interesting. There's also a new one coming out, but I don't remember the name. It's going to be on PC, PSVR, on every platform. Maybe someone in the chat can remind us of what the name is. But that could be a cool one. And in Rec Room, I remember that they made a custom game mode where you can also land on the beaches of Normandy and, fight your friends. So, yeah, if you want to go for something free, you can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, this game just, like, to me, it just harkens back to my days in LAN games with my kind of clanmates and stuff, and reminds me of Medal of Honor, Day of Defeat, just all those games. There for a period of about, I don't know, 5 or 8 years, it was like all World War II multiplayer games, and I don't know if you guys remember that, but it felt for a while like we weren't going to escape. And then I suppose we went into zombies, I think, and then now it's pirates or something. I don't know what the new thing is.
The game is called Blunt Force.
Blunt Force,
and it's coming out this year.
Yeah, that looks good. That does.
I'll definitely have to check out the sniper one.
I like the fact that this game's got aim controller support.
Yeah.
We're seeing that more and more, which last year we almost saw none of. It was very, very limited aim controller support, so I definitely welcome.
I would like die for a an aim controller like that for PC.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I looked into possibly modding it, but there's no way.
But just the fact, like, if you want to play a shooter on PC, you need to, modify your controllers to do that. But with PlayStation, it's like it's a thing on itself. So I don't need to do anything with my moves. It's just a product next to the moves, and that's what I like about it. You don't need to do anything. You just buy it and you can just lay it somewhere and then use it again later. So
And I love the guys who have a stock for their PSVR aim.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
I've
it's
seen
like
that, dude.
this little doohickey that looks like it was designed for like a 12-year-old. And then you're just like, I'm just gonna clock a stock on this. I'm gonna give it a paint job.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's
paint
freaking.
jobs too. I've seen some paint jobs as
Yeah,
well.
there's some badass paint jobs out there. Like, people go proper camo colors on it and all. Oh my God, Mike's got a fucking stock, you badass! Oh, it's not
What?
done yet.
So this is part of a project that I'm gonna modify to stick on the aim controller for when we play some Dick Wilde next week.
That is brilliant. And
Yeah.
I suppose you just 3D print a like a clasp for it, so it kind of locks into the clasp or something. How does it actually hold without slipping past the gun? Do you know how that works?
Yeah, so there is a design on Thingiverse that you can download, and I plan to modify that design to accommodate the ProTube tube, so it all connects together. So that's my project for tomorrow and early next week.
Well, thank you for the
I've
sneak peek.
got far too much time on my hands, I know.
No, that was fucking brilliant. All right, let me get on to the third title so I'm not buffing the show out here. So third title here is, again, we're seeing a lot of these fan service experiences by on the PSVR. There's another one coming out, and a title that I knew nothing about. I'd never heard of it before. I keep having these kind of Japanesey titles that drop, and I'm like, I've never heard of this thing. And then I go, search it on Wikipedia or something, and it's like, oh God, this thing is a massive name. What the hell is this? So I'll reveal that secret now. So Fate Grand Order VR, another story experience, is a free PSVR experience that looks like one of those stand and watch a pretty girl twiddle around games, right? However, the background for this is that, and I'll just help you guys understand what Fate Grand Order is. It was an online free-to-play role-playing mobile game, and it was developed by a studio called The Lightworks, and basically the game centers around turn-based combat, where the player takes the role of a master, summons and commands powerful familiars known as servants to battle their enemies. So I guess it's somewhat like a spiritual Pokemon. But it was very interesting because this game grossed $982 million in 2017. That's not small change for a game like this. And as you start watching the trailer and what you'll see on the screen, you're like, yeah, this is just what you described earlier, Zim. This is clearly just a, look at pretty girls stand in a scene and move around, and we've already got feck tons of those. Don't need any more. But this quickly will transition for you, and you get to see the kind of the grit in the game. So the game transitions. And so for this game, which was only first released, I understand, in 2015, being a mobile platform game, with that kind of turnover, it actually ended up being the 6th highest grossing mobile game of the year in 2017. Which up against, people like, again, Pokemon Go, is no small order. So anyway, I think it's very interesting to see another one of these from Sony on PSVR. And I just wanted to give a little tidbit. My favorite comment on Steam was someone said, "A game where we get to live in a nice house with our waifu?" And that was my favorite little caption from the Steam community. The only other thing I was going to mention today, aside from those 3 titles, so those were Titan Slayer 2, Honor and Duty D-Day PSVR, and Fate Grand Order VR, which is actually out on the same day as Honor and Duty. It's out on the 26th, so this coming Tuesday, is something I saw while I was doing my research today, which I was very interested in, and I had no idea that Monstrum is actually coming to, I don't know, unfortunately, the VR set, and I have reached out to the developer, but it is coming for our pancake friends to Xbox and PlayStation in a new refurbed package, very much like what Dreadhalls did. And I'm super enthused at looking at this at the textures and the lighting. Like, the game looks really good. And so I'm going to be getting on my hands and knees for this Scottish-based studio called Junkfish, and have to beg them to port it to VR, because the game looks bloody amazing as an uplift and a facelift from what they had before, which is one of the scariest games. If you haven't played it, you can still get it. It's a pretty rough-looking game, and to play it, you need to have some cojones, my friends. So that's it. Monstrum may be coming.
You said before that this title has the most play hours. Because it took you a while to finish it, right? It took you like a year
absolutely.
or so?
I actually honestly don't believe I would have ever finished it if it hadn't been for an in-game bug. Because basically the enemy, one of the enemies that can come after you and chase you, which actually is showing in the trailer now, is Volcano Mouth. That's what I call him. And he's this big fecker with like eyes and mouth, just, looks like lava. And he got stuck on a wall. And then I was like, fuck you, dude. Guess what? I'm going to go repair this lifeboat. Oh, you doing good? You want some coffee? And I got off the ship. And then the game congratulates you. And there's all these different endings, which I haven't seen, because there's no way I am ever going to beat those other endings. The game's bloody difficult. Like this is no Left 4 Dead. It doesn't just like slowly escalate. Like if you take more than 5 minutes in the game, you'll probably need 25 minutes to run around the ship and get all the pieces together, no matter how you're trying to escape, by helicopter, by submarine, whatever. I don't know how people beat this game, to be honest. I really don't.
Maybe you should start a petition like they did with Dirt and see if
I will.
Has any effects.
That's what this is about. So please, everyone in
you're
chat,
exposing them at the moment. Okay.
Go to at I think Team Junkfish's Twitter and say we want VR, in like a very Queen Bohemian Rhapsody style, and let's get him to do it.
Or even better, like Zim sends his regards.
I'm gonna go there. I didn't know they were in Scotland. I'm just gonna be like, where are you? I'm gonna drive to you, and we're gonna go. I'm gonna go bug them. Anyway, that's it for this week's releases, Mike.
Nice one, dude. Thank you very much. So let's talk about graphics cards then, because I think if you've been planning to build a VR-ready PC, then you might be very happy to hear that NVIDIA announced this week a new entry-level VR-ready graphics card. So this card is the GTX 1660 Ti, and this is a new card that utilizes the new NVIDIA Turing architecture. It features 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory at 12 gigabytes per second and has a boost clock of 1,770 megahertz. So it's no slouch when it comes to gaming, but it's kind of new entry-level card, and especially if it's VR ready, it's going to be ideal for those people that want to build a PC on a budget, especially if you want to build an ITX build, which is basically a small form factor PC, because these cards are a lot smaller than the bigger brothers and sisters that are much more expensive. But the thing is, although they've got a new line of cards, which are predominantly the RTX cards, and this still sports the old GTX, and the reason for that is because they've dropped some of the tensor cores and ray tracing technology to make this an affordable little bundle in terms of a card. So it's still got good performance, but you don't get those new fancy features of the other cards in the new series. So it's still a GTX card.
Do you feel like you need those features?
Not right now.
Okay.
Especially because there's no VR titles that support ray tracing anyway. And also the only ray tracing enabled games are like Battlefield. And to be honest, even with the new RTX 2080 Ti, enabling ray tracing, you're going to get a real big performance hit. So, really ray tracing technology, it's no way worth it right now. And that's from someone who bought a card myself. The other thing is
it sans Virtual Link. I'm just seeing on the specs page as well.
Yes, exactly. No Virtual Link connector, which is a shame considering it's a VR ready card. But again, it's a kind of a feature that is kind of future proofing yourself in a way, because there's no headsets that support it right now, unless you buy an adapter cable, of course. In terms of performance, it kind of sits between a GTX 1060 and a GTX 1070, but will come at a lower cost, so that's kind of cool. And those cards have proved, decent cards for VR titles. I know that PD, friend of the show, uses a GTX 1060 and doesn't really have too many issues. He streams and records content as well with it, so it's a pretty solid card. I think with this kind of GTX 1660 Ti, I think the best sort of headsets to use it with are going to be the Oculus Rift, the original HTC Vive and Windows MR headsets. I think will struggle with the higher end headsets like the Vive Pro, the new Odyssey, and the Pimax. So they're going to kind of be off limits.
Yeah.
But definitely, if you're just in for the OG first generation PCVR headsets, this card will do you a solid. And it's relatively cheap. You know, it's $279 and 259
Whoa.
British pounds.
Sweet.
So, good price.
That's a
for
great price
VR.
for someone who wants to hop in and just build a rig right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what you're saying is that if people buy this GPU and they want to buy a VR headset, they should avoid headsets with a high resolution. So they should go as low as possible.
Yeah, stick with the first gen headsets. Everything kind of 1.5. You know, the refreshes that we've seen are probably going to be a bit too much, especially if you want like the best graphics in games to be enabled. Yeah.
Well, as long as it's 3D HUD compatible, I'm fine.
Yeah, but it's going to be nice again for people that just want to get into VR and build a PC. But I know a lot of people are waiting for standalone solutions, but you've got options there if you want them.
But it's really nice, I think, Mike, to highlight the kind of the options that we have, because one of the things that always used to just piss me off when I was like into PC modding, looking at different components for a rig I was going to build, was they were always focusing on like medium or like high tier, and you're like, I can't spend $4,000 on my PC. That's great that you're able to put in water cooling. Sorry, Mike. But it's like, show me something for me. And so I really like that you're highlighting this card, because it's not an area that I'd be looking at, but at the same time, it's like if I was considering to build another rig, just to run a headset in a different room, or if you wanted to have a partner PC, or if you're 16 and you're trying to get money together to build your first machine. This is great card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, I mean, honestly, if we're looking at the state of VR now, you don't need the highest end stuff.
Not
I
at
feel
all.
like it's actually slowly proving that lower end sells better and works better in the long run and seems to attract more consumers. So don't think having the best headset out there with the highest resolution and coolest features is making you the king of the hill. I actually would tip off my hat for the people that instead of buying something like that, just go for an MR headset, or just go for a Rift or Vanilla Vive, or I think that's good.
At the end of the day, the games are still immersive. They're still fun.
Yeah.
You'll have an amazing experience.
Plus,
regardless.
how much money can you save with that? I mean, imagine.
But I think it's a really important, it's an important point that Nathie you've made there, because for years, right, it was that you always wanted the high frame rate. You wanted the card that could actually have the horsepower to drive the frames. And I honestly think that, so the cards have gone past, the prices have come down, and now we're in a state where most headsets, aside from Pimax and a few kind of crazy birds out there, most headsets are like falling behind the cards, and they don't need that much power to push them. And also the software has caught up, right? Obviously they cheat a little bit with some of the space and time warp stuff.
Yeah, plus, I mean, immersion is not something bound to, let's say, highest resolution, or
that as well.
If you're immersed, you're immersed. That's it.
The only pro tip I'd have to say, if you're building a rig, don't forget to have a plethora of USB slots and an expansion card, because whether it's accessories or just the headsets themselves, I mean, they're pretty hungry.
A man can never have enough USBs. I agree.
Absolutely.
Agreed. So the next topic this week is the Vive Focus Plus. It's kind of interesting because we had sneak peeks of this kind of headset from HTC in the past, when they were sort of showing off a development kit for their new controllers for the Vive Focus. But I'll come more onto that in a second, because they describe this new headset as a professional grade standalone VR solution for enterprise applications. So it's not really aimed at gamers. They've aimed this solely at enterprise. They say that the Vive Focus Plus is designed for easy deployment and management, equipped with immersive 6 degrees of freedom controllers, improved graphics, and the ultimate in ergonomic comfort. This all-in-one VR system is ideal for showrooms, training simulations, virtual conferences, and more. So they've basically taken the Focus, which again was kind of like an enterprise aimed product, and they've just added 6 degrees of freedom controllers to this package, and the headset was always 6 degrees of freedom as well. So you're getting a standalone 6 degrees of freedom package here, but instead of focusing on gamers like what Oculus are doing with the Quest, seems like they're aiming this one more at enterprise applications. So they're going for a different market here. But the controllers.
This is so obviously. Sorry, Mike. This is so obviously going to appear in, like you walk in to see a house or whatever, and you know how they have those like 3-dimensional, like 360-degree rotation photos. This is going to replace that. Something like this. Like at the moment, you may have a whole bunch of different types of things, but depending on the price point of this guy, I can imagine this, or like in an architect's office, like it would just look good. It would fit well. You'd be okay putting a client in it. That's where obviously their competitors don't have foothold.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a smart move in a way. Like you said, like virtual real estate tours and stuff like that are going to be huge business in the future, without doubt. But these controllers are kind of interesting because we've seen the controllers from the Vive Cosmos this week. They gave us a closer look at those, and there was a guy that actually looked a bit like me in there, although he had more hair, demonstrating them. But instead of just taking that controller design and using it with this headset, they've said no. That's for gamers. The Cosmos is for gamers, and that controller is a controller designed for gamers. Whereas this is an enterprise headset, and these controllers are designed for enterprise. So they're using touchpads on this headset with these controllers, which is kind of interesting that they kind of clearly seen there's a different market for different types of controller inputs, and it's kind of getting interesting where that's going.
Yeah. And also, as you said, like they seem to be clear about, okay, Vive Cosmos is for gamers and the Vive Focus is for enterprises. That's how they should do it, because otherwise, again, it might be a bit confusing. I do think it was a bad idea to almost at the same time, announce the Vive Focus Plus, but then also talk about the Vive Cosmos controllers, because on social media it was mixed up, and you kind of missed I was like, Vive Cosmos, we have been waiting for news for like since CES, and now you just throw, like, I don't know, their marketing strategy in Europe and in the US, it's so odd. I just don't know what they are going for. The videos look nice. I think visually they're always very good at showing their products, but you need to think of when you post something and in what way and what you add to that. And why do I need to tell someone at HTC to do this? I mean, I could do a better job at marketing the Vive Focus Plus and the Vive Cosmos, their controllers.
Yeah,
but I don't know. But I'm already happy they kind of cleared out this whole idea of Vive Focus is not for, because that's always like a thing they have been battling with. So that's something I would change, try to separate it. I mean, Oculus is also not going to talk more about the Quest than show the controllers on their Twitter. And then an hour later, they're like, oh, and do you also know that the Oculus Rift has something new? Like, you can't do that, because then everyone is going to be all over the place, and it confuses the consumers even more. Like, you need to be aware constantly when you run a marketing campaign, and that's Oculus, that HTC, that's Sony, that there are consumers watching, and you need to make it as easy as possible and try to avoid as much confusion as you can. So
speaking of confusion, how many bloody headsets has HTC announced at this stage? Like, I got to go look at like a Wikipedia page with like 8 different headsets listed, well, Vive Plus, Vive Pro, Vive Pro Plus XR, we've got all these mobile versions as well. There's a lot.
Well, as long as these marketing campaigns of the enterprise stuff don't get too close to the consumers, it's fine to release as many headsets as you want. I mean, I'm not sure, but Pimax, for example, is also like, I don't know how many versions. So it's cool as long as you just tell people if they should look out for it or not. That's all. And then you can release as much as you want. Just make it clear.
I think the thing here though is that these controllers, they're not going to be sold separately to upgrade your original Vive Focus. So unfortunately, although we saw that kind of adapter that
True.
That was purely a development kit apparently, and they've
Yeah.
got no plans to sell that separately.
I,
So
I was surprised. I was surprised they decided to just go for 2 different versions next to each other. But when I was at the office at HTC, they did tell me that they want to slim down the Vive Focus. So I feel like that it's still gonna happen. But on the other side, we have the Vive Cosmos. So let's say the Vive Cosmos, as it is right now, is going to be competing with the Quest. It's not the Vive Focus who's competing here.
no.
But
although
a question.
the Vive Cosmos and the Quest are still different headsets too. So
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know if you both have. I think, Nathie, you've at least used it. Have you both used the Focus?
Yes.
I'm wondering if you're as equally unimpressed as I am with the binocular, like, hard circle view
Yes.
that you get. Like, it's not like a PSVR or a Rift or
No.
anything else that I've used. Even Gear VR, the Samsung Gear VR is a better view than what you get in a Focus.
Yeah, like I tried it side by side with the Go before the Go was released, and I was more impressed with the Go at the time. Even though the Go is limited to 3 degrees of freedom,
Yeah.
the Focus is 6. I would still prefer the Go over the Focus due to the screen.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
only-
odd,
yeah.
really odd, like a hard circle, right? Like that was it,
Yeah.
like almost like no Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah. But in terms of specifications, it's pretty much the same Focus we know already. It still uses the same Qualcomm Snapdragon 835. Still has the same 2880 by 1600 AMOLED single panel at 75 hertz. And what we do know is that it's likely to launch around Q2 of 2019 and will be available in 25 countries. So it's looking like it's going to be like a global release.
Wow.
The original Focus launched at $599 so expect this one to be the same price, if not a little bit more expensive, because of these new controllers.
Jesus.
But yeah, originally when I saw this headset, I was like, oh, this is cool. Competition for the Quest, this is great. But when I started reading more into it and it's more sort of focused enterprise, you kind of understand, well, they're going for a different market. So
In that market, it probably will look relatively inexpensive compared to
exactly. It's
alternatives.
marketed
So
at that price
they might
for-
do very well with this, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be something for VR arcades or for theme parks or for showrooms. Like I said, real estate. You touched on it, is going to be a big business, I think. For
Even
these kind of
medical. There's something about the form factor, looking at the controllers and the headset, that just makes me think, baby wipes, like wiping the thing down, like after use and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe less so arcades, because I think people would walk with a controller.
Yeah.
Well, we still got to find out if arcades, let's say if standalone is going to work well in arcades, but that's something we got to figure
battery
out later down the road.
Yeah, just the inherent problem with it's the same thing like with the HoloLens when they were demoing the
Exactly.
HoloLens. It was just such a nightmare because the thing would just in like 2 hours it would like overheat or have no battery and then have to be charging for some time and then back up again.
Yeah.
Nope. Doesn't work very
But
well.
like you touched on as well, like the Vive Cosmos. Although it kind of looks like it's going to be competition for the Quest, it's a very different product. The Quest is standalone. The Cosmos is hybrid, and the Cosmos is really sort of meeting a market that wanted the Quest to be tethered to a PC. So they did a smart thing there. So it's going to be super interesting to see where this goes in the future for sure.
Yeah.
It's wacky.
But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. We've got so many different headsets coming out. It's unreal. So it's going to be a very interesting year.
And get ready for the clash of the standalone VR headsets. This is the year where we're getting some war activities.
Yeah, it's getting hot in here for sure.
Oh yeah.
And now we're going to throw another one into the mix, and that is, of course, the HoloLens 2. And for maybe those of you out there who aren't familiar with the HoloLens, it's an augmented reality headset. So the idea behind this headset is that it has clear lenses, so you can see the world around you, the real world around you, and then it projects objects on top of the real world, so it augments your view, hence why called augmented reality. Nathie's kindly sort of showing his HoloLens on camera now. Really cool kit, quite heavy though, but this was obviously the first generation from Microsoft in terms of AR. Both the HoloLens and the Magic Leap are the two sort of big main players in the sort of high-end AR market space right now. You've got other sort of people like Project North Star from Leap Motion that are sort of saying you can build your own AR headset as part of a development kit. It's completely open source. The thing is with these headsets, both the HoloLens and the Magic Leap, they are really cool. Having tried them both, they are very, very cool indeed. However, there is an issue with the field of view being very narrow. Now, if you compare it to VR headsets that we're used to right now, we've got around 100 degrees field of view with like the Rift, the Vive, PSVR, and the sort of the main sort of VR headsets. With these AR headsets, both the HoloLens and Magic Leap have around 30 to 40 degrees field of view. So really what you're seeing is the real world projected, the real world around you, and then objects in this small little window in front of you. And you really need to get it into the right spot, the right conditions to really have a really cool experience.
Feels like half a postage card is what I would say. It feels like half a postcard. Sorry, did I just say postage card? Half a postcard is about the size, is what I would say. But the effect of having a wearable.
When I hold it, in front of the webcam, I think you can kind of see the little screens in there.
I'm not sure we're seeing your desktop anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wait. I see the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
She's wearing a HoloLens.
Well, but you guys are right. Like the field of view is something that is very small, but on the other side, it's not for consumers asking for more field of view at the moment. So, but I own one for 2 years now, and I'm very excited for this new one. Also, yeah, because more field of view, but also, what are the new features going to be like? I mean, this HoloLens is, I think, almost like 2-3 years old now. And it's very impressive for the first version out there. It runs Windows, it has a solid battery, and it's great. I really enjoyed it. And with this new one, I don't know what we're gonna see, but if the field of view is gonna be bigger, fine. But I've always seen the potential of AR with this headset, even with its weak points. But I mean, a development kit can have weak points without being.
Yeah, and Magic Leap are doing the same thing, right?
Yes.
Like, the Magic Leap 1 is a development kit, and they're getting them out as much as they can, so developers can make the applications, because the content is what drives consumers to the product, so they can then refine it, make a consumer product that is a wider field of view headset, looks cool, and people are willing to spend their money on. But tomorrow is going to be super exciting, because this is when we're going to find out all the juicy details, because Microsoft are going to be presenting at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. This is an event mainly for sort of mobile hardware manufacturers to show off sort of new mobile technologies. But of course, other companies are getting involved as well. So Microsoft will be showing off. And the rumor is that they're going to be showing off the latest HoloLens 2 headset. If you're interested in tuning in and watching the keynote live, it's going to be on at 6 p.m. in Europe, 5 p.m. in the UK, and 9 a.m. Pacific time. I've put a link in the description of this video, so you can go and click on that, and you can check that out tomorrow if you want. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier about the Samsung Odyssey, maybe they're selling off their old stocker headsets, and maybe they're going to be announcing something alongside this, because Alex Kipman, who's the head of VR AR for Microsoft, he's not only invested in HoloLens, but also this mixed reality platform as well. So we could see more details about this HP headset that we discussed recently on the show as well, and some maybe unannounced headsets that we haven't heard of anything about previously to this. So
it would be a wild guess if they would bring AltSpace to the HoloLens, because Microsoft does own AltSpace. I don't know.
Right.
And the Magic Leap uses a remote, like a controller, and I would love to see a remote, like a controller for the HoloLens 2 if they do announce it.
I'm excited by that idea.
To have.
I'm excited by that idea, Nathie. The idea, because as well they have a whole, they were the first ones, I think, to have like Leap Motion support, Vive support, all the different controller tracking, and seeing it. I can just imagine like someone walking into a room and them having a little, avatar with a HoloLens on it.
It would be the first time we're seeing cross-platform between VR and AR. That's going to be a big step, because that has never been done before.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that
would be
sounds
cool.
great actually. Something I would also not be surprised of is that we're getting another mixed reality headset. I don't know why, but nowadays you can't be surprised anymore that there's like another one coming out. But yeah,
If that
exciting
happens,
times.
if Big Apple Buddy actually deliver my Odyssey and then they announce a new Odyssey at the same time,
Imagine, oh, that would be such a sour moment.
it will. It
Yeah,
will.
but are you guys like, what would you be excited for to see with a new, like a pair of AR glasses? Is there something that you would,
I still want
Yeah,
something hybrid between like the current form factor and like the glasses that are really stripped down, like something in between, like a chunky Oakley kind of style glasses, with some kind of full feature colored display. Not just I'm a HUD and I'm gonna tell you that Starbucks has extra seats or a deal on today or something like that, but actually richer visuals. And like I'd love to have, for instance, a real life driving racing pair of glasses that augments and can do chevrons on the road or alert you to certain hazards or risks or whatever. Those kinds of things, those applications really make me interested, provided they can get down the form factor. Because right now it's too bulky. There's no way I bloody wear a HoloLens in public, and I generally don't give a damn what I look like.
well, I don't think that the second one is going to be for public either.
No.
So,
No.
well, you could. Then you look like Doc Brown wearing that one like thing on his head.
I remember.
Though I gotta say that's a fancy, item to wear. Someone else says, and this is just, I don't know, a rumor or some kind of guess. Rip Fake says maybe a standalone mobile Windows MR headset running some kind of Windows 10 version.
That would be really interesting. That would
Yeah,
be really
because
interesting.
we like these mixed reality headsets. Let's say the Samsung Odyssey or the Acer one or the HP one is going to be a standalone, so the cable is also gone, and I don't know. I don't know.
And if it runs
Sounds
Windows
good.
10 like HoloLens does, that would be super interesting for
And
sure.
what about some integration with like your home cinema or your film library or something like that? Like
If they do that, then as I said before, this clash between standalone headsets is going to be interesting. Imagine like having the Vive Cosmos there with its hybrid version, and then we have the Oculus Quest, but then we also have the Samsung Odyssey standalone. Oh my days! Imagine,
it's
just
gonna
imagine that
get
for a
crazy.
moment.
It is gonna continue to be crazy. The next 5
I hope
years.
so. I hope so. I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. And I'm going to be watching it live tomorrow. So, no doubt I'll be taking notes and then we'll give you all the juicy details if you
Yeah.
miss it next week's show.
Sweet.
Super excited for this. Like wider field of view
Yeah.
is the main thing I want.
Yeah.
But everything else will just be a bonus for me. So if they can nail at least like 80 degrees, then I'll be happy.
Oh, that would be so neat. And the price, I don't know about the price. I think the first HoloLens was
3,000?
$6K, right?
I thought it was
But you had to
3,000
sign
US
up
dollars.
as a business to
Yeah.
get one. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as I know, it was like around 6,000. But it depended on what like version you bought, because you could buy one with a license or something. I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat knows. I'm not like an expert on the AR side. I bought this one from a developer later down the road because I can't buy a HoloLens if I'm not a developer. Hopefully the new one is going to be more accessible to everyone. I think they would score some points with that because the Magic Leap as well. You can't get it if you're not a dev.
No, exactly.
So it's kind of, and I'm sure that most consumers are not gonna, pay like 6K for something that is not even,
Interesting here,
consumer
Nathie,
product,
answering that question. So it said this is Wikipedia saying the pre-production version of HoloLens, the development edition, shipped on March 30th, 2016. Can't believe that's almost 3 years ago. Targeted to the U.S. and Canada for a list price of $3,000 US. But there is also a commercial suite similar to a Pro edition of Windows with enterprise features such as BitLocker security, and the suite sells for $5,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
So there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting day tomorrow.
Yes.
So let us know what you think, prediction-wise, in the comments, and let us know
let
if
us
you have
know.
questions for us. While I go over the sort of show times again. So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Or listen to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Anchor.
Also, give a thumbs up on this video. Lets us know you care.
Yeah.
If you enjoy our show, then, hit it.
And to sort of throw it in the face of the two people that downvoted this video before it even gone live, the haters. So help us out. We'd appreciate it.
Please, bring it up for us.
I
But
don't see anything particularly
again,
on Twitch at the moment.
Okay. We do appreciate everyone, always tuning in every week, waiting eagerly to catch up with the next show. Really enjoying doing this, so it's great.
So John Overholt said, think we'll be getting some Qualcomm headset OEM partnership announcements?
Could be possible. Qualcomm have announced new chipsets just recently, so and they even in their trailer for those new chipsets, they kind of teased at XR industry adopting these new chipsets. So if that comes tomorrow, then it's going to be super interesting indeed.
Sweet. Exciting times.
Well, it's certainly been a good show, gentlemen, despite we're down half a man. Rowdy had to run off to his wedding. For anyone who's wondering,
Rowdy
joined us later.
Dancing right now.
I wonder how many tequilas he's got inside him already.
I still love that. So he's gone to a wedding, but apparently they didn't. They're not giving him any food.
We can always call the hotline with Papa Voodoo. So
Exactly. So unless we've got any questions, should we wrap this one up then? I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back, of course, next week at the usual time. So until then, have a great week in VR. And we'll be back next week with all the juicy details from Mobile World Congress, which is on tomorrow. So until then, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Ciao, dudes. And we're out. Great numbers, 120.
Nice.
On YouTube. Twitch.